The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Zethkar's words echoed through the crystalline halls. Representatives from 12 species sat motionless, their various forms of breathing apparatus creating the only sound in the vast space. The ultimatum had been delivered with the cold precision that the Velthari were known for across the galaxy. Surrender unconditionally within 72 standard hours, or face complete annihilation, Zethkar repeated, his four eyes focusing on the small figure seated at the defendant's table. These are the Council's final terms. Dr. Sarah Chen, Earth's first and only ambassador to the Galactic Council, sat perfectly still. Her dark eyes surveyed the assembled representatives with an expression that several species would later describe as unnervingly calm. She had arrived on the Council station 3 months ago, representing a species that most of the galaxy considered primitive at best, dangerously unpredictable at worst. Ambassador Chen, spoke High Arbiter Morvac, his tentacles writhing with what humans had learned to recognize as barely contained disgust. Your species has violated 17 galactic laws, destroyed 3 Council patrol fleets, and refuses to submit to proper civilization protocols. Surely you understand the gravity of your situation. Sarah stood slowly, her movements deliberate. At barely 5.5 feet tall, she was dwarfed by every other being in the chamber, yet something in her posture made several representatives shift uncomfortably in their seats. Honored Council, she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustics. I believe there has been a fundamental misunderstanding about my species. A sound that might have been laughter, if the Krell could laugh, emerged from the insectoid delegate's translator. Misunderstanding? Your ships destroyed our vessels without provocation. Without provocation? Sarah's eyebrow arched slightly. Your patrol fleets entered our solar system without permission and demanded we submit to slavery. In what universe is that not provocation? Indentured advancement, corrected Zethkar coldly. Your species requires proper guidance to achieve civilization. The Council has offered this service to hundreds of primitive worlds. And how many of those worlds still exist as independent entities? The silence stretched uncomfortably long. Sarah nodded slowly. I thought so. She reached into her jacket and withdrew a small device, placing it on the table before her. Several security drones immediately focused their weapons on her position. Relax, she said, raising her hands. It's just a communication device. I thought the Council might want to hear from someone with a bit more authority than a mere ambassador. High Arbiter Morvac's tentacles stilled. You dare to waste the Council's time with Admiral Harrison, United Earth Defense Force. A gruff voice emerged from the device. I understand you folks want to have a conversation. The temperature in the chamber seemed to drop several degrees. Every species in the galaxy knew that title. The human who had orchestrated the destruction of 3 Council fleets using primitive, chemical rockets and kinetic weapons. The military leader who had somehow turned humanity's technological disadvantage into a tactical advantage. Admiral, Zethkar's voice carried a note of wariness. The Council has offered your species generous terms. Surrender now and your people will be relocated to appropriate worlds for their development. That's real kind of you. Harrison's voice carried an undertone that made the translator system struggle with contextual meaning. But I'm afraid we'll have to decline. You cannot seriously believe your species can stand against the might of the Galactic Council. High Arbiter, Morvac's tentacles began their agitated writhing again. We command fleets of 10,000 ships, armies numbering in the trillions. And how many of those ships are currently in your home systems? Harrison interrupted. The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Sarah watched as realization began to dawn on several faces around the chamber. What do you mean? Morvac's voice had lost its authoritative tone. Funny thing about humans, Harrison continued conversationally. We're really good at multitasking. While you've been gathering your fleets here to intimidate Earth, we've been having conversations with some folks in your neighborhoods. Sarah activated a holographic display above her device. Star maps appeared, showing the home systems of each Council species. Red dots appeared throughout each system, Hundreds of them. Stealth ships, Sarah explained to the horrified assembly. Turns out, when you don't rely on standard galactic technology, you become very hard to detect. Each of those red dots represents a human vessel carrying enough antimatter to crack a planet. Zethkar rose from his seat, his 4 eyes wide with shock. You're bluffing. Humans lack the technology for faster-than-light travel. Your ships couldn't possibly what? Harrison's chuckle was genuinely amused. Couldn't possibly figure out alternative methods. Couldn't possibly use your own hubris against you. You've been monitoring our primitive radio transmissions for decades, watching our entertainment broadcasts, studying our cultures. Tell me, what's the one consistent theme in every human story about alien invasion? The chamber fell dead silent. We win, Sarah said simply. Not because we're stronger or smarter or more advanced. We win because while you're busy being civilized, we're busy being human. And being human means never ever giving up. High Arbiter Morvac's voice was barely a whisper. You would destroy entire worlds, billions of innocent lives? We would defend our species, Harrison replied. Just like you tried to destroy ours. The difference is, we're better at it. Sarah leaned forward, placing her hands flat on the table. The Council has a choice. Withdraw from human space, acknowledge our sovereignty, and establish proper diplomatic relations, or, she gestured to the holographic display, learn why humanity survived long enough to reach the stars in the first place. For several long minutes, no one spoke. The assembled representatives of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy stared at the small human woman who had just checkmated them with a species barely 3 centuries into their space age. Finally, High Arbiter, Morvac's tentacles drooped in defeat. The Council will consider your terms. Sarah smiled, and every being in the chamber felt a chill run through their various nervous systems. It was not a pleasant smile. You have 72 hours, she said, echoing Zethkar's earlier ultimatum. Choose wisely. As the council session dissolved into chaos, one thought echoed through the minds of every alien representative. Perhaps they had severely underestimated what it truly meant to be human. The galaxy would never make that mistake again.